How to reduce the sound of your ASIC miners. One of the big problems that ASIC miners have in general is that they are very loud. We are talking like 75 decibels. This is one of the main problems if you want to mine at home. It's just not comfortable. But lately there has been new solutions to be able to not only reduce the silence but also increase the production of your miners. In this video we're going to talk first of all ways to get your ASIC miners to be in silence, basically silencers. After we will talk about immersion cooling, which is basically a technology where you put the ASIC in a liquid, the electric cooling, and it will also affect your ASIC because you can make it perform we can make it overclock, okay? And lastly, we will talk about hydrocooling. What is this hydrocooling that everyone is talking about and they say that is the future? It is really the future. Is it soundproof also? Is it good? Is it bad? We're gonna see all of the evolution of the possibilities to silence your miner, and at the end I'll give you the best advice in my opinion for this topic. But before we start, as always, if you like the video, please like and subscribe for more. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. As I said, the subscribe button is totally free, so you can always join if you want more videos like this. And if you are looking to buy any mining equipment, we have our website in the description. Anything for ASIC miners, you have it over there. And with all that said, let's go! Okay, so here we are, and first I wanted to show you how much of a noise ASIC miners make. I cannot show you in the video because you would literally die, but if you see the statistics, you can always go to ASIC miner value, which shows basically most of the ASICs that there is in the market right now, and we can check the Inmmersion S19 XP, which is one of the latest miners, the most efficient, the most interesting one. Okay, we go to the description, we go down, and here we have noise level. How much is the noise that this ASIC miner is making? 75 decibels, okay? It's crazy, it's a huge amount of noise, but it's not only that miner, okay? Everyone, if you go to the iPollo, which is the one who's making the most money of Ethereum, same, you go down, how much is the noise level? 70 decibels. Every single miner makes a lot of noise. Why is this happening? Well, because they have these small ventilators that go super fast, okay? We're talking like server style ventilators, they go very fast, and they make a pitch noise that is terrible to listen, okay? You don't want to have that close to you. If you are working in a mining farm, in a professional sphere, you're always wearing your earplugs, and if you have it at home, it's pretty impossible to have it at home, to be completely honest, unless if you have it like in the garage or some place that is very far away, okay? So how can you fix that? How can you make your ASIC miner silence? Well, the easiest way and the first thing that appeared was basically silences. How does these silences work? Well, the first of all, or the most popular ones were the black boxes, okay? Upstream Data created an official one, which has a huge problem, which is very expensive. We're talking $2,000 for one miner. How does this work? Well, it's basically a music box, okay? You put your miner inside, the air goes from one of the sides, it goes up, it goes through the miner, and it goes down through the other side. Everything inside is isolated, so it makes much less noise, but the miners get hot. They do have that problem. The miners get hot because they are inside of a box and they cannot extract the heat as good as they would in a normal sphere. It works good. As I said, this is the more professional design. There's thousands of ways to do it manually. It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, but you could technically do it manually for like $150, maybe $200. It shouldn't be too complicated to actually build. I mean, it's not easy, but well, I don't know, depends on how much you care. The only problem is the air condition of the miner, okay? You have to have enough ventilation, so if you put too few, it can be a problem. It can get overheated, and as I say, overheating is very common in this type of solutions. So as I said, it was one of the first solutions. The problem is overheating, but it's true that people were using this type of constructions to put basically a tube in the outside part and connect it to the AC. You know, in America, most of the houses, they have the kind of big AC where you can connect straight up your tube and they would get free heating, which is a great idea. Actually, it's a great way to use it, but as I said, in general it's not perfect because the miners do overheat. Is there any other solution for silencers? Yes, there is the new generation of silencers, which actually we have in our website, and I'm very happy to say that we have them because we have been looking for them a long time. And it's these things, okay? These silencers basically are much cheaper, okay? They cost, well, we're selling them for $200 plus shipping, so they're much cheaper. But as I said, it's basically like the silencer from an AC, okay? This is very common in China actually, and in Eastern Europe, if I'm not mistaken. And it's basically the way that the air goes inside the ventilator. Instead of going straight up from those two mini fans that we have in the normal ASIC, it goes through the big fan, okay? So it doesn't make that much noise. It reduces a lot. It's not like a mining rig, because a mining rig, if you put a mining rig, it's like 45 decibels. Obviously, if you have a lot of them, but if you have just a few, it doesn't make that much noise. This one will make still a little bit of noise, but nothing compared to what you have before. Maybe like 55 decibels, 60 decibels, something like that. And as I said, they work very simply, okay? I'm showing the website because we have it, and I'm very proud to have it because, well, I created a website to try to bring people things that I think are useful, and I think this thing is very useful. But as I said, this is only a silencer, okay? There's better ways to fix your miner. I think the silencer is the most comfortable one and the cheapest one. We're gonna compare the cost after to see what you can get if you spend more money talking about immersion cooling, which will be our next topic. What is immersion cooling, Pedro? Okay, immersion cooling basically is where you want to go one step ahead, okay? You don't want just your miner to be silent, you want it to overperform, you want to do overclocks basically. So how does it work? Basically, immersion cooling is very simple. You just take your miner, you take off the ventilators, okay? And you put it in a swimming pool, kind of a swimming pool, okay? I'll show you pictures. I went to visit a farm here in Kazakhstan like 3 months ago, and they had one of these systems, so I checked it out like with a nice amount of time. I couldn't make more pictures or more videos because I didn't want to tell them that I'm a YouTuber and everything. It was like a business deal, so I didn't want to bother them, but I did take a couple of pictures, and I'm gonna send you a video. I'm gonna show you a video. So how does this work? Basically, they put the miners, they take off the ventilators, and they put them in this swimming pool basically, where the liquid is the dielectric liquid. It's not obviously nothing related to water, if not you would have a problem. So it has no problem with electricity. You just plug everything, and this liquid is moved through a system where outside there is a ventilator, basically same as in AC, okay? Something like this. This is a miniature version. So basically you would put your ASIC in here, and this is connected to the AC, and the heat is in the exchange in this part of the ventilator outside of your house. You put it basically outside, and that way the ASIC is basically in a much more colder environment. I'm gonna show you the sound. Take into account that this ventilator that I was showing, it was literally next to what I was recording, so the sound you're gonna hear is from the ventilator, not from the water, but I'm gonna show you how it looks like, okay?
Water take the heat from the oil.
Okay, without taking into account that the huge Russian accent in that explanation that the guy was telling me, as you can see, there's no sound, okay, almost no sound. The sound that you're hearing in the back, like, is from the ventilator, because as I said, they were trying like some weird stuff that they were creating, so they had the ventilator like in the back of me, so that's what you are hearing, but the actual thing doesn't make any sounds at all. You just close this, okay, you close this, and it just works perfectly, okay? So, is this a good idea? Should you do it? Is it good for the miners? Is profitable? Well, here there is some pros and cons that we need to value. First of all, is it a good idea? Well, it's true that, first of all, the most important part is most stable. It's more stable, way more stable. ASICs, when they are like these, ASICs, normally, okay, if you have an ASIC in the outside with air cooling, normal cooling, around 1.5 years after you start using it, or two years, if the ventilation is not filtrated, if you have dust on all these things, the ASIC is gonna be less stable. But if you put it in this type of solution of immersion cooling, it's much more stable, okay? It lasts being stable much longer, and you can have it stable for at least 2 years, 3 years, or even 3.5 years. So this immersion cooling works pretty good, as I have to say, but it does have one problem. What is the problem? The cost, okay? Immersion cooling is much more expensive. This model that I show you here, the miniature one, okay, it costs, we are trying to sell it also in our shop. I'm just telling you the prices, we don't have it right now, but I think it's interesting, and it will cost around $1,600, and it's just for one miner, okay? This is a very small pool. You just put the miner and you connect it. So it's much more expensive than just putting a silencer, okay? The prices we have, I have to say, they are very competitive. If you check with other like shops, you will see the same, but in general it's very easy to see that immersion cooling, it's much more expensive, because also you have to buy the liquid, okay? The liquid, you have to change it from time to time. I don't know exactly how long the liquid lasts, but you will have to change it, and it's a lot of liquid, okay? In these big benches, like, it's huge. So for example, this swimming pool right here that you're watching costs $10,000 without the liquid, and is very, very expensive. If you talk with people who has big farms, yes, they are all kind of going into this immersion cooling setting, I will say after why, but it's true that it costs like 4 times more. If you buy a container, a normal container, where you just want to put your ASICs, and you put like 300 ASICs, which is normally like around 1 megawatt, I'm talking like industrial size, okay, like big sizes. When you talk to them, one container of those is like from $25,000 to $40,000, depends a little bit on the quality. If you do immersion cooling, normally it's like 3 to 4 times more. Okay, we're talking like $100,000, maybe a little bit less, maybe $80,000, but at least twice more. So if you're spending like $100 or $120 per ASIC, now you're spending $250 to $300 per ASIC. So the problem is it's very expensive, but there is a thing: you can overclock your ASIC so you can get more hash rate. How does the overclock work? It's the same as in a mining rig for GPUs. You just put your GPUs, you overclock them, and you get better results. Well, in ASICs you cannot do that directly in air condition, in normal air ventilation, because they get too hot. Okay, the chips, they get too hot, and it's not good. It's not safe to have them that hot. Over 80 degrees is not good. But if you have them in immersion cooling, they are pretty cold actually. They are around 60 degrees, which is fine, it's perfect. I'm talking in Celsius. And if you make overclocking, you can get up to maybe 70 degrees, 75. So it works pretty good, but it has a catch. There's a lot of people in China saying that these things are like magic, okay? Like basically you just put them in immersion cooling, you can do 40%, 50%, 60% overclock. It's not true, okay? Not all models do the same. What you are watching here is S19s without Pro or anything, just S19s. I think they are 92, 96, something like that. Those are very good at doing overclock, okay? When you overclock them, you can get to 130, even 140. They do very, very good at overclock, and they're very stable. But when I was talking with the guys from different farms, for example, S19 Pros of 110, they don't do that good at overclocking, okay? They are much more unstable if you do it. So maybe from 110, they do like 135, something like that, which yeah, it's pretty good, but you have to understand, first of all, they're gonna pull way more power, so you have to have a specific PSU, which is more powerful. Take that into account. And second, as I said, you're just gonna be using more electricity. So yeah, you are getting more performance. You're getting maybe like 20, 30% more performance, but you're paying double for the setup that you need to build them up. So in the long term, is it gonna pay out? Probably yes, but in the short term, it's a big investment that you have to make. So it has like pros and cons. As I say, it's way more expensive than just getting a silencer. For example, if you're just gonna have it in your house, as I said, yeah, you can get this thing. Like I think it's interesting. That's why we are putting it in our shop. So I think it's interesting, but would I pay $1,400 for this just to reduce the sound of the miner? I mean, the sound is pretty basically zero. So maybe I would because it's more stable, because I don't have to take care about it. But I just compare it with a normal silencer, and I'm like, okay, I can buy that for 1,400, or I can get a silencer for 200 and another ASIC miner for like 1,200. If you don't pay a lot of electricity, I get cheap miners. And I think like, I don't really know. I think it's better to just get the silencer, just put it outside and show, okay, no problem, no more. And that's personally my thoughts, okay? But I do think that immersion cooling is very interesting, and it will get more common, okay? Right now, the big farms, they're all setting up in immersion cooling because they have a lot of machines. They don't want to take care of them, and it's much easier if you have a lot of them in immersion cooling because, as I said, they're much more stable, they don't have any dust, and it's much easier to keep them in a good way. And lastly, what is this water cooling that people is talking about? What is this water cooling that they say? Well, water cooling is the actual future. What is water cooling? Well, water cooling is these ASICs that you are seeing here from Bitmain. He's the first who have delivered them. I think Watts Miner is also doing them. Basically, it's miners that are connected. You have to connect them to water, and they get much more cooled down, okay? This makes them achieve huge hash rates. The big one, I think, is 255 terahash, which is great, okay? It's a great hash rate. But what is the problem with these ASIC miners? You cannot have them in your house. Why? Because they only sell in huge batches of 188, 200 units at a time. Why? Because it's basically a combo. You buy it with the own container. You basically buy the whole container with the ASICs all together, already ready. The only thing you have to buy apart from this is the water system, because you do have to put like a hat in here that is like the water system cooling that is connected to thing. But basically you buy the full pack, and here you have your container full of miners. What is the pros and what are the cons in this case? The pros, this is a system that is actually not that new. There were miners that were like Hydro before, and as you can see, if they would sell one by one, you could connect them to this kind of portable ventilators and you could use them like that, but they don't allow for selling one by one, at least for now. And these solutions are not very good. They will probably have better ones later on, but right now they are not very good. So as I said, the problem is you cannot get this, okay? You cannot get it easily. It's very complicated. You have to be a big farm to get them or have a lot of money. You also have to wait because they don't have them right now. I think the most interesting is the XP Hydro. The XP is, I think, 255 terahash. Yeah, it's crazy. For 5,000 watts, which is crazy because it means that you would be making like 125, which is kind of similar to the XP for 2150 watts, which is like super efficient. It's very nice. But you see, January, March 2023, and as I said, if you buy one, it's like bulk order, okay? You're gonna like buy just one, you just get bulk order, and you have to get the full package, okay? Like with the container. Why? Because the container costs $100,000. As I said, normal containers cost like maybe $30,000-$40,000. Well, Bitmain is not stupid. They realize that containers make a lot of money, and they just make the special one. It's the only one you can use for these miners, and they sell it for $100,000. So profit is probably like what, 70,000 for them? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So is it the future? Yes, it's the future because it's much more efficient, at least for now. We have to see how they work in the long term because only a few farms have used them, but it's much complicated for the small miner. For small miners, it's going to be very complicated to have these things because you will have to have special equipment. Probably in the future, they will develop something so everyone can use it, but for now, it's much more complicated than just having your miner and connecting it. So if we have to value the three ways, basically silencer, immersion cooling and hydro. I would say hydro is the future, but the more complicated one. I would say immersion cooling, almost everyone can get it with these like small combos that they are creating right now. I think they are interesting, but as I said, they are very expensive. And the cheapest way, if you just want to silence the ASIC that you have in your garage, you're tired of hearing it and you're like, I just need this thing to go silence and that's all, it's basically buying these silencers, okay? This silencer depends on the model. Like for example, if you buy with us, you would have to tell us like which model it is. I mean, it's the same with everyone because this thing has to be adapted to the entry of your ASIC. You take off the ventilators of your ASIC, these two, it's very easy. You just take 4 screws and you connect this thing and that's all, okay? And it's much more simpler than making the immersion or any other problems. As I said, it's like the simplest way, but it's also the only way where you don't actually can improve the the hash rate. I have to be completely honest, and with this you cannot increase the hash rate because I mean you have the same problem as with air ventilation. You are just making it silent. So best way to make it silent, this one. Best way to get extra hash rate, probably immersion cooling. And if you're a big farm, maybe you want to take this hydro cooling, but I don't have like what, $2 million to be able to buy a full pack of this, so it is what it is for now. Anyways, if you like the video, as I always say, please like and subscribe for more. If you have any comments, you can leave us in the comments below, in the comment section. You can ask anything, or in the Instagram. And if you are interested in the silencer, you have the website, our website, in the description. We have all type of miners. I don't want to do a lot of spam, but as I said, we have all miners for Bitcoin, Cadena, Ethereum Classic, LTC, and we have the best prices. If you want to check them out, you have it in the description. And with all that said, let's see you in the next video. Bye.